Well, hello, Clutter Warrior. I'm so happy to be back with you. Let's talk today about forgiveness and this idea of forgiving ourselves more than forgiving other people. I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday about this idea of forgiving other people, which is a curious concept because it's really about us letting them off the hook, right? I forgive you, meaning I'm not going to hold you accountable, or I'm not going to hold you responsible for a transgression, right? I'm not going to try to get some sort of emotional, spiritual, psychological, financial payment from you from this transgression. I'm going to write off the debt and set you free, right? Which is really all about us. It has very little to do with the other person. It's just, do you want to be snagged by that attachment to their behavior, or do you want to let them go? I remember, and we were talking about this the other night. I had an assistant many years ago in New York, and he had keys to my apartment. And this was a long time ago. I was not making a lot of money. It's not like I make tons of money now, but I was really not making a lot of money. And I lived in a small rent stabilized apartment in New York. And I had an expensive lock on the front door. It was New York. I had an expensive lock on the front door of my apartment. And this guy had keys to the apartment, and he disappeared on me, right? Turned out he was drinking and, having some sort of an emotional crisis of his own. And he disappeared on me, was not responding to my phone calls or my texts. And I was getting really agitated because I needed the keys back. I think I was getting ready to leave town or something, and I didn't want to leave town with keys to my apartment floating around. And I remember talking to a mentor of mine, and he said that I needed to call this guy up and set him free. That I was supposed to call him up and say, look, I don't need you to pay for the locks. I don't need anything from you, in essence. I'm letting you off the hook. I'm setting you free. And that was for me. It wasn't for him. It was for me, because I was in that agitated place of, how dare you keep my keys, put me in this position, blah, 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 story. You can imagine all of the places one could go with that feeling of, you have something that belongs to me. And he did, but you have something that belongs to me. You're not getting it back to me. You're not responding to me. You are doing something to me. But all of the agitation was me doing it to myself. And as soon as I called him up and said, look, I'll take care of it. I need nothing from you. I want nothing from you. I'm letting you go. I set myself free. It cost me money. And if I look at what was on my side of the street, I gave him keys to my apartment. I trusted him. Not that I shouldn't trust people, but I trusted him. And these are the consequences of trusting that particular person. So it doesn't mean I would never give keys to somebody else. I would be more careful about who I gave keys to. So all of that is an example of how I let somebody else off the hook for myself. Now, when we think about ourselves, clutter, disorganization, poor time management, where do we, you, need to forgive ourselves for the choices that we've made in the past, right? If you look around your home, you look around your office, you look around your spaces, and you see things and they upset you, you've got clutter. You've got disorganization, whatever it is, whether it's a ton of stuff or just you're often 15 minutes late. The circumstances on some level don't really matter. It's just an opportunity for you to look at what's it going to take for you to forgive yourself for whatever you've done in the past, which is really about acceptance. we call it forgiveness, but it's about letting ourselves off the hook from tormenting ourselves, not pretending that something didn't happen, right? The choices that I've made in the past in my life, whether it was around physical things, relationships, whatever it might be, am I beating myself up? Am I torturing myself? Am I shaming myself? Am I making myself feel crappy and reinforcing this kind of thinking that keeps me stuck, keeps my energy down, keeps me not motivated to be proactive and a fierce clutter warrior, whatever that might mean to you or to me, right? What am I doing by holding on to these resentments, even towards myself? And so if you think about your relationship with stuff and how not forgiving yourself for creating the clutter, allowing the clutter to exist, to build up, being somewhat disengaged in the process of running your own life in a clean, and I don't necessarily, I mean clean, crisp, right? Not clean, dirty, clean, but not holding yourself accountable, and in some ways respecting yourself and your home. If you live with other people, the other people you live with, respecting the environment enough to make it a tidy, well-organized home that functions. It doesn't have to look like a magazine. It just has to be functional so that you're not tripping over things and you're not wasting time unnecessarily looking for things. You're also not wasting money replacing things that you actually already own or throwing things away that you didn't need to buy. All of that, right? So how do you get to a place where you can forgive yourself for the past and be able to draw that line in the sand, right? That whatever I've done in the past, I'm going to let myself off the hook, in the sense of beating myself up. I'm not going to pretend that I didn't make those choices, because if it doesn't sting a little bit, it's easy to do the same thing again in the future. If we remember, oh, I don't like that these are the choices that I made. I want to make different choices in the future. If you can't feel that little prick or that sting, you're likely to forget, oh, I made some poor choices in the past. So we don't want to do that, but we also then don't want to flagellate ourselves or beat up on ourselves. It happened. It wasn't our finest moment. It probably wasn't our worst moment either. And so again, being able to put that in perspective so that we can acknowledge it and then accept it so that we can move on. That again is the glass half full place to get to. So if you look around your home and you're seeing the evidence of choices in the past that today you see don't serve you any longer. They might not have ever served you, but at least today you're clear they don't serve you. Can you forgive yourself? It's a very powerful thing to start with yourself rather than worrying about forgiving other people, right? If you can let yourself off the hook, you're laying the foundation for forward movement and letting things go. Because again, sometimes we hold on to them because letting them go would mean acknowledging that we made some mistakes. It's ironic in some ways, and it doesn't serve us. So let's start with looking at how we can forgive ourselves for the choices that we've made in the past, and allow that to be the foundation for going forward and making different choices. Again, aligned with our values so that we can set ourselves free and get on with the rest of our lives. Nobody wants to spend all of their time moving crap around their house. I mean, I've yet to meet a person who thinks that that's the highest and best use of their time. So the quicker we can let ourselves off the hook, move forward with clarity, some grace, and a plan, the sooner you'll be on your path towards a decluttered, simplified life that is aligned with your values. That's what I've got for today. Looking forward to being back with you again real soon. Remember, more love, less stuff.